was driving to work this morning, I was listening to another radio station, as we broadcasters sometimes do. What I heard shocked and saddened me.
The Entertainment Roundtable.
They're here, nerds.
Wait, is this the group that goes around mutilating squirrels?
You just mind your P's and Q's, Buster, and remember who you're dealing with.
Well, at least we found them.
Fortuitous, Captain. And now that we have them all together,
you can't make an omelet without breaking some eggs.
The Entertainment Roundtable.
They make one person go, blah, 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 and the other person go, what are you talking about? And then one person goes, blah, 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 blah.
Welcome into the weekend here, Superstation 101, WYDE. A lot of great things going on as we go throughout the course of this weekend. A lot of great programming here, and of course, it is Talladega weekend here. We'll be dealing with that later in the fastest hour in radio. This is the Entertainment Roundtable, and officially, we say good morning to you if you're listening on Saturday morning, 5 a.m., could be Saturday evening, 7 o'clock, maybe. And I'm praying that this is not the case, because if you're hearing this on Sunday afternoon, that means we got rain at Talladega, and that's not a good thing.
That'll mess up your weekend, buddy.
It would mess up my weekend, but the good thing is I've checked the weather forecast. All should be good. Hey, Jeff, how are you, sir?
I'm good.
Big plans for the weekend?
Working.
Working?
Yes.
Saturday?
Yes.
Gonna try and get in Amazing Spider-Man 2?
Oh, probably not this weekend.
Probably not this weekend.
Yeah, I don't know. I hadn't heard a lot of good about it so far. A lot of mixed.
We got two people about to do reviews a little bit later on in
Okay.
this show. Ryan, have you had the chance to see it yet?
No, but I will be seeing it this weekend, and I will say this, justice has been served this week.
It will be fun to see where this goes. Yeah, I know exactly where he's going, actually. And let's see. Okay, so that's on your schedule to see this weekend. Did you see anything that we haven't talked about yet?
Nope.
Okay, just wanted to double check. And then we bring in Jacob, who's going to be able to stick with us for a segment and a portion of segment number 2 here as we have some big news.
I'll be here for the whole show.
Oh, very, very nice. David, unfortunately, not able to make it. Josh still on his way back from Hollywood, California, where they did the red carpet premiere at Grauman's Chinese Theater of Mom's Night Out. Big time. So he was out there for that. They should be winging their way back here this weekend and be prepared for a big week here in the state of Alabama as Mom's Night Out gets prepared to open. All right, here we go. Let's start into it here, starting off with the fact that of the top 10 movies of the last weekend, I think, correct me if I'm wrong, don't we have 2 movies to review, Jacob?
I have 2.
Yep, okay. Yep, now I got it. I just had to make sure I knew exactly where we're going. We're doing that one and we're doing that one. Marking it down like the people can actually see what I'm talking about. In at number 10, A Haunted House, $3.2 million. This thing has made $14.2 million. Not big money for a comedy spoof, but then again, I think, are we kind of past the whole idea of comedy spoofs like this now?
I mean, I'm surprised we're still making them.
Yeah, haven't we kind of run that creek dry?
If they made them with like an actual story that wasn't just like a 5 minutes of making fun of this, 5 minutes making, if they, like Airplane, it spoofed disaster movies, but it had a story of its own.
So in other words, if we could get another Zucker kind of a team, we might have something. But in this case, it's just a mishmash of nothing.
From what everything I've seen of any of these, the latest slew of them, it's all just a sort of like, hey, we're going to homage and make fun of this for 5 minutes, and then look at that, that's a sight gag from this type of movie, instead of like making like The Naked Gun, spoofed cop shows,
right?
Told a story, but at the same time dropped little pop culture hits and things in there at the same time. So
we just need better writers.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, that'd be great.
or a Leslie Nielsen.
Yeah, that'd be good too.
Yeah, it'd be nice to have another Leslie Nielsen back. You want to talk about a guy who had just the ability to deliver a line with such a perfectly straight face. It's amazing.
No kidding.
All right, up to number 9, Divergent, still in there, $3.7 million. It's made $139.5. Where was this movie, and I don't know whether you know this right off the bat, Ryan, but where was this movie projected to be when it came to its total box office take? Do you have any idea?
No, they're not sure how much money this exactly was going to make, but I got to tell you something. The money they're making right now is not going to make back their $100 million budget.
Okay, so there was a $100 million budget there. This thing will probably top out, give or take, $150 million in the United States. And going by what Josh says, That's about the production, plus then you go and publicize its release, advertising, so on and so forth. It's at least 50% of the budget of the film, so they would break even on American money, and they would have to rely on overseas money to be able to say that they made money on this. It's a pretty good chance we're going to get number 2, but I think they're going to be watching closely the box office before they think about making the 3rd book in this series.
Yep.
Because it wasn't a great film.
No.
Up to number 8, somehow Bears is still in there. The Disney nature one that's narrated by John C. O'Reilly.
Oh, I was going to say John Leguizamo.
No. Suddenly I'm questioning myself whether it was him. It's narrated by somebody. 3.7 million, 11.3. Up to number 7, you get the first debut of the week. $3.9 million for The Quiet Ones. It's kind of how their box office went, isn't it?
Yeah, you could say that.
Has anybody heard anything about this film, good or bad?
No, I didn't even know of it until you just said that name.
Yeah. Ryan, heard anything about this film at all? Anybody said anything having seen it?
Other than the Rotten Tomatoes rating, nothing but crickets.
Wow. Good grief. And we talked about this. This was, as I remember, this was one of the higher Rotten Tomatoes rated films of the past week, wasn't it?
I think it was, yeah.
Huh. Interesting. Up to number 6, the movie what
38%.
38%. Well, that doesn't say a whole lot, does it? Up to number 6, Transcendence made another $4.3 million. 18.6. Not good money for a Johnny Depp film. Up to number 5, the second debut of the week, Brick Mansions, $9.5 million. Which, judging from what I've heard from this film, and Ryan backed me up on this, you were interested because you like Paul Walker. You knew this was his last full movie that he was able to complete, but you kind of shied away from seeing this film because you said you had not been hearing very good things about it.
Yeah, that and the fact that we got a lot of big heavy hitters coming up within the next few weeks with some Spider-Men and some X-Men. They're going to kick a lot of tail and take a lot of names, too.
Yeah, so this one probably, I would say this one probably has benefited from Paul Walker's death. Pardon, being a little morose there. But probably the vast majority of the box office was because of the fact that this was Paul Walker's last full movie. This week is going to be the big tell as to how much box office percentage they drop, as to whether this thing has any kind of staying power at all. Up to number 4, Rio 2 brought in another $13.9 million, 96.4. Heaven is for Real, $14.4 million, 52.5. It's not a very, to me, it's not a great film, but I think it shows we do have a thirst in this country for faith-based films.
Yeah.
That's what I'm gathering from it. Up to number 2, Captain America, the Winter Soldier. I watched it again over the past weekend on Friday night. Enjoyed it just as much as I had the first time. And then last night, we're recording this, by the way, because myself, Dustin Harmer, are going to be out at Talladega for Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. So we're actually recording this on a Thursday. And we went to go check out a sneak preview of Spider-Man 2 last night.
I hate you.
And it was playing in the same movie theater where they were showing Captain America. We got there early enough. We watched the last 30 minutes again. And I'm thinking to myself, I could go back and watch Captain America again.
Yeah, it was still awesome.
16.2 million.
The last, 10, 15 minutes of it that we got to see. It was still awesome.
Exactly. 16.2 million, 225.1, and it doesn't seem to be slowing down a whole heck of a lot. But it has been bumped out of the number 1 slot, and this was because of the Cameron Diaz film, The Other Woman. Brought in $24.8 million in its first weekend. This was not getting great ratings on Rotten Tomatoes. What's it up to, or what's it sitting at now, Jeff?
26%.
26% approval rating. And Jacob, you and I had the chance to go check it out. I'll start with you. What do you think of it?
All right, I don't have a whole lot to say. I think 26% is a little low. I mean, it is a very predictable girl comedy kind of thing. It's funnier than I expected it to be, which was so-so.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, it's better than mediocre.
Right.
It's not a bad movie to watch if you want to watch it. I mean, go for it. I'm giving it like a 6 out of 10.
Okay.
Not groundbreaking, but
right.
It's decent-ish.
Okay. Do you see why it beat Captain America or not? Or are you just kind of flabbergasted by the fact that Captain America was shot down to number 2?
I'm sorry, what was that?
Are you shocked by the fact that it knocked Captain America out of the number 1 spot?
I don't think so. I think most of the people who have wanted to see Captain America have seen it.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like, it's what, 4th week now or so?
4th or 4th week or 5th week?
Yeah, it's somewhere in there. I mean, it doesn't surprise me that something has topped it, and I think that this is just the movie that was the hottest movie of this week, as Captain America is losing steam.
Gotcha. Okay. I'm going to piggyback off of you and say that, yeah, nothing groundbreaking out of this. But I walked into this initially thinking that this was going to be Bridesmaids, Hangover. What was the movie last year with Sandra Bullock and Melissa McCarthy? The Heat?
Oh, The Heat.
The Heat. I was thinking it was going to be like this. It would have its laughs, but it was going to beat you over the head with profanity. And was kind of a little wary about going into it. And then I found out just as we were ready to walk in the door, because I didn't look it up like I should have, the rating on the film. Turns out the film is a PG-13.
Yeah, it's not overly gross or...
Yeah, I mean, you're going to get a couple of words, but it's not going to beat you over the head with it. And there's no, you don't have to worry about, for no particular purpose, seeing a whole lot of nudity or anything like this. I'm not necessarily saying you would take your 10-year-old kid to it.
Oh, absolutely not.
But for a girls' night out, it probably would be good. So I walked into there thinking I was not going to like it at all. I was fully expecting to hate this film and came out of it actually kind of laughing and realizing, as I look back on it, that I actually enjoyed the film.
Yeah.
For women who loved the movie First Wives Club, the Goldie Hawn, Bette Midler film from, early to mid-1990s, this film is for you. You need to go see this film. Yeah, this film is so very close to that, but it was quite funny. It was enjoyable to watch. I'm going to go with a 7. I'm not saying it's appointment. You need to watch it on the big screen, but you could do worse than watching The Other Woman on the big screen. So I'm going to go with a 7.
And I mean, big props to Don Johnson's character in that movie. That's all I'm going to say.
I was impressed. It's been a while since I've been impressed with Don Johnson in a role, and he did a pretty good job in this film.
I'm talking about how his character ends up.
We'll leave it at that. We're not going to go any further because that would give away part of the ending, so we're not going to say anything else. Let's go to this week here, and there are 2 films coming out in wide release. Well, I say wide release. The film Walk of Shame, which stars Elizabeth Banks and James Marsden, comes out in kind of somewhat limited release. I don't think it's going to be in full form. In other words, like, say, 3,000, 3,500 theaters. Probably coming out in about 1,000 to 1,500 theaters. It's a film where an L.A. reporter, after a one-night stand, finds herself in downtown L.A. No phone, no car, no ID, no cash, and only about 8 hours to make it to one of the biggest interviews that she will ever have in her life. I'm not certain that this film is going to break any big ground here. I think it'll probably eke into the top 10 just barely. But I haven't heard much about this film. Anybody?
I mean, I've seen the trailer. It looks funny. I mean, but not, again, like you said, it's not groundbreaking. It is what it is.
Yeah. What's it? Do we know a Rotten Tomatoes kind of ranking on Walk of Shame here as Jeff tries to check it out and hang himself with his headphones at the same time?
Apparently not enough critics have weighed in. It doesn't have a consensus yet.
So we're waiting on that. And then the other film, The Amazing Spider-Man 2, Andrew Garfield, Emma Stone, Jamie Foxx, Paul Giamatti, and others. Oscorp sending out, pretty much the entire arsenal that they have in order to try and take down the web slinger that we know so well. And Ryan, you were not happy about the fact that Jacob and I have already seen this.
Yeah, that's right.
You're in the wrong place, my friend. I keep telling you,
So
down here's the
fact.
place to be, my friend.
Oh, man, I got to start to get down there, man. This is killing me. You guys are seeing all the mega hitters even before me, and that's not right.
See, there are perks to being in this business, my friend. Jacob, we stayed up very, very late last night. Was it worth it?
Well, where I didn't have a whole lot to say about The Other Woman, I have a ton to say. I could talk for hours about this movie.
Okay, how much time does he have, Jeff?
Yeah. So, yeah.
You got 5 minutes. I'll give you 5 minutes, okay?
Yeah, if I start to ramble, stop me. But anyways, this movie is just too ambitious. It tries to do way too much all at once. and too many characters. Way too many characters. Just way too many storylines. The storylines that are there are really good, and they're really solid, with the exception of one character. I didn't like the way they did one character.
Right.
But all the storylines are actually really good. If they would have pared down, I think they would have had a good movie. But they just introduced way too many characters and spent too long on character development, and then you had maybe 5 minutes of fighting in the whole movie.
Correct. It's
a Spider-Man, it's a Superman, a superhero movie, and you want action, and there just wasn't any. I was a little disappointed in the visual effects too. Spider-Man, the CG Spider-Man looked very CG. Did not look like, they did a better job in the first series of making him look like a real person, even though it was CG. But this was disappointing to me because I'm one of the few people who really liked the first movie. I really liked Amazing Spider-Man. So I was very disappointed that this one was not as...
All right, so that leads us to trying to figure out what your ultimate rating is going to be on this, Jacob.
I'm going with a 5.5 out of 10. It is not, like I say, the storylines are decent, but there's just too many of them for you to get interested in any one particular storyline.
Okay. 5.5 out of 10. That brings us to our first break of the day. So we're going to take it. When we come back, I'll give you my thoughts on Amazing Spider-Man 2. We'll talk about what's out in limited release. And then we got some big news here about a couple of films. You mentioned superhero films. We've got news on that front. And we've been talking a lot about the rebirth of one major science fiction franchise. And we're going to talk about the casting of it next.
They do all their own stunts. The Entertainment Roundtable on Superstation 101.
Well, I think we just told you what major science fiction franchise we're going to be talking about here, haven't we?
I'm a little disappointed that you didn't use the one song from The Other Woman that we talked about.
Yeah, I can't do that.
Okay.
I know which song you're talking about. No, I can't do that one.
Would have been funny.
Would have been funny, and then that would have been the end of the show.
Yeah.
Put it that way. All right, welcome back in, and we are talking about the movie Amazing Spider-Man 2. I wanted to like this because initially, and I was one of those, you mentioned the fact that you were one of the few people, Jacob, that really liked the first one with Andrew Garfield. I initially did not care for it, and then went back about a year later and was encouraged to watch it again. And I did, and I went, you know what? Actually, it was a better film than what I initially thought. So I was very happy to see that it lived up, at least to kind of cautious expectations upon my part. And as I look back on it, I kind of regraded it, and I gave it an 8. I don't think it was a great film, but it was certainly an enjoyable film. I went into last night hoping that I was going to get much the same. The problem is I got a little bit too much the same, in that when we sat down and we started watching the film, which, by the way, is quite long. Once you get into the film, it's about 2 hours, 2 hours, 20 minutes long of film. Okay, we sat in the movie theater for what, 2.5 hours?
Easily.
And keeping in mind that, we had, 4 previews and all that kind of stuff. But, you're still talking about 2 hours 10, 2 hours, 15 minutes of film. This would have been a great film at an hour and 45, hour and 50 minutes. They could have easily cut out about 15 to 20 minutes worth of what they put out there on the screen, and it would have been a nice, tight film, and you wouldn't have lost anything. We know the relationship between Peter Parker and Gwen Stacy. It was established. We didn't need to establish it again. They spent an inordinate amount of time, to me, reestablishing that relationship. I understand that their girlfriend, boyfriend, have them spend time together. That's fine. I don't have any problem with that. I don't need them to be reestablished as a girlfriend and boyfriend. Then all of that time was spent, like you mentioned, Jacob, doing this stuff and setting up your characters, setting up the relationship between Peter and Gwen, Peter and Harry Osborn, Peter and this, Peter and that. And then all of a sudden they're like, oh, wait a minute, we've got enemies and we need to fight. And they throw it all in there in the last 20 minutes.
It really feels like at some point the writers were like really, really invested in the story. And then like halfway through they were like, you know what, let's just throw the rest of this out there. And oh yeah, we said the Rhino was going to be in there too. Oh yeah, let's put him in there.
Right.
Oh yeah, we got to do this one big Spider-Man thing. Oh yeah, okay, cool, throw it in there. All right, we're done.
None of the enemies get enough. Well, I take that back. One does. The other two, you mentioned Rhino, we mentioned Green Goblin. These are characters who are, well, Rhino not necessarily, but Green Goblin has certainly central to the Spider-Man universe.
Sure.
And we are introduced to him, and then what happened? All of a sudden, poof, we're gone. Jamie Foxx's character as Electro is actually done pretty well by Jamie Foxx, except for one problem in the fact that at one point in time he's enamored with Spider-Man, and all of a sudden he's an enemy.
I mean, and that switch just flips.
Yeah.
There's no ramp up to that.
Right, exactly. So it's got holes in it. It's visually, it's a very, very pretty film. I think the acting is actually very good. I think Andrew Garfield has really gone in and embraced the role of Peter Parker and Spider-Man. He has the one-liners down. He has the kind of the jokes and the one-liners and the attitude of a Peter Parker and a Spider-Man, and the ability to be able to fight his enemies at one point in time and then turn around and be able to relate to the common man. We saw him fairly late in the film talking with a kid, and was able to just go so seamlessly from going from the kid to fighting the enemy that he was facing off against. That was very well done. Emma Stone does a very good job for the most part in playing Gwen Stacy. I cannot argue one bit with the people who were cast in the roles and how they portrayed the roles, except for maybe the way that Rhino was kind of brought to us. But we'll see where that goes when it comes to Spider-Man 3.
Right.
I wanted to like this film a heck of a lot more than I did. This is not anywhere near as good as the first one. I'm going to give it a 6, and that's being a little bit generous on my part, mainly because of the fact that this could be so much of a better film. It just doesn't quite make it there.
I think if you're a huge Spider-Man or a huge superhero movie fan, then it's probably worth it to go watch. If you're not, then just don't.
Yeah, wait for it to come out on Blu-ray DVD, which it likely won't be too terribly long. I think now we're seeing turnaround of about, 3 months after it's within 3 months after it's out of movie theaters, you're pretty much getting it there. So I think you would find that it would be worth it. If you certainly want to go see it, I'm not going to tell you don't. I'm just telling you it's probably not going to live up to expectations. And typical Marvel, you are going to get a scene in the middle of the credits, but it's not furthering Spider-Man.
I know that much.
It doesn't even really make any sense at all.
Yeah. What? I'm sorry, Jeff.
It's just not even the same studio. They did some weird one-time partnership deal.
Should we go ahead and mention the fact that it is the one-time partnership with?
It's Fox and Sony, so I mean, making connections there.
Yeah, they're making the connection, and what you're going to get on the extra scene in your credits is the upcoming X-Men Days of Future Past, which I'm not sure it really whetted my appetite for Days of Future Past. It didn't add anything to me to what I have seen in the trailers, which actually does make me want to see the film. I don't feel like I got that much out of the little snippet that they gave us.
No, it was just like they took some part of the movie like way out of context, and it was just like, here's your 30 seconds of this movie that we haven't shown you yet.
Yeah. So overall, I wanted so much more out of this, and it just unfortunately failed to deliver. Also out in limited release, if you're interested, you might have to do a little bit of searching. There's actually not much, only 3. There's the movie Belle, a foreign film called Ida, and something called The Protector 2. I didn't even know there was a first Protector.
Yeah.
I think that was some martial arts movie with like Tony Jaa or something like that. I don't know.
As I do remember, I remember seeing something about it being a martial arts film. So, yeah, I think you're right. Several films coming out next week. Couple of comedies. We've mentioned Mom's Night Out and the Irwin brothers coming into, and they've been up here at the radio station, Superstation 101, talking about this film quite a bit. They're facing off against Neighbors, and Neighbors, I think, is going to actually be what I thought The Other Woman was going to be. One of those kind of raunchy comedies, a lot of language. I don't know about nudity, but I'm expecting a lot of language. I'm expecting that, you'll be hammered by a whole lot of words. Correct me if I'm wrong. Chef, also a comedy?
Kind of comedy / drama, probably closer to the drama side.
I think so too. Chef Favreau.
Jon Favreau, Robert Downey Jr., Scarlett Johansson. It's actually got a number of stars in it, and it's funny that you got so many people that are so involved in the Avengers and or Iron Man, but somewhere in there, doesn't there have to be a reference to that?
Maybe. I know that I saw the trailer, and it didn't look interesting to me. It looked like, hey, dude, decide to get a food truck.
That's what the movie's about? It's about a guy getting a food truck?
Yeah, pretty much.
He was a chef, and then he loses his job, and then he decides to start a food truck.
Man, that sounds
and there's a kid in there at some point. I don't know.
Is he precocious? He's got to be precocious.
Yeah, as Mel Brooks said in the movie Blazing Saddles, I like to keep my audience riveted. Not sure Chef's going to do it. Also, you got an animated film. And this seems like it's fairly early to return to this because of what we just saw last year. But the animated film Legends of Oz, Dorothy's Return, we just got like the prequel to Wizard of Oz last year. Are we going back to this a little bit too quick?
Yeah, plus they already got half those characters showing up on ABC's hit drama series Once Upon a Time.
I'm certain that they're not going to tie that in at all.
No, it's not. I know because it's animated, but still, they shouldn't have made that movie, man.
Why did they make this movie?
It's a cash cow. They're trying to milk it for all it's worth.
Okay. Do we know what studio? Do we know what studio's putting this thing out?
I thought it was Disney, wasn't it?
It might be. I'm not certain. I
don't know.
I think Jeff is in there looking it up. All right, Jacob, let's start with you here. And we've heard rumor, we've heard innuendo, and more rumor about who might be cast in the 2015 Thanksgiving to Christmas holiday season release, Episode 7 of Star Wars. Finally, over this past week, we found out who's going to be in it. So give us an idea of who has been cast. And, keeping in mind, we're going from 4, 5, and 6. That's the classic Star Wars, 77, 80, and 83, into episode number 7. Let's face it, we're 31 years after the fact of Return of the Jedi. Are we going to get returning cast members?
Yes, we're definitely getting returning cast members.
All right, so all of them?
Everybody that I have seen, relatively every, of the big cast members, with the exception of Billy D. Williams.
Yeah, where is he?
I don't know. Of all the people, of anyone who's ever been asked to do something Star Wars related, Billy D. Williams has been the first one to jump up and say, yep, I'm going to do that.
Right. I wonder if they just couldn't figure out a role for him.
Well, how do you not? He's like the leader of the rebel fleet at the end of Return of the Jedi. 20 years later, he can't be that much far removed from the story.
No, I wouldn't think so. And I've seen him recently. He appeared just within this past season on an episode of NCIS, and he's appeared in a couple of other guest starring roles on TV shows. So I know that he's still active.
He did Dancing with the Stars this year.
Yeah, I kind of wonder what the deal is. So we get Harrison Ford, Carrie Fisher, Mark Hamill, Anthony Daniels, thank you. I was going Anthony Edwards, and I know that's not right because he was Goose in Top Gun. Anthony Daniels, we've got R2-D2, C-3PO. We got Chewbacca. Peter Mayhew is back. Obviously, we can't get Alec Guinness because he has since passed away. Have they said, are they going to try and do maybe kind of a younger version? Can they do a younger version of an Obi-Wan Kenobi in this, ethereal world that we've seen Obi-Wan Kenobi in?
I haven't heard anything about that.
I don't think they'd go back and get Hayden Christensen to do that, would they?
No, because he wasn't Obi-Wan Kenobi.
Oh, that's true. Ewan McGregor. Sorry, Ewan McGregor.
That would be strange if they did.
Maybe they just won't have any more ghostesses. Maybe now that there's balance of the Force, they can go be at peace or whatever.
Okay.
Go away.
Well, one would assume that we have to have something of a new story, which means new characters. Who else is being brought in? Anybody we know?
I don't have the list in front of me.
That was your job to have the list in front of you, Jacob.
What? You didn't tell me that. So you didn't tell me that ahead of time. So
I have it.
All right.
Do it.
Ryan, we now turn it over to you. How many of these people are we going to recognize? And keeping in mind the fact that George Lucas, and in the Star Wars films, he has not been real apt to go after big-name stars. He's been, granted, we saw Samuel L. Jackson. Natalie Portman was making a name for herself when she appeared in the first one, but he hasn't been really known for going after big names. Did he get any for this?
Well, yeah, there are a few veterans mixed in with some brand new up-and-coming talent. You got veterans of Andy Serkis of Lord of the Rings, Max von Sydow, Adam Driver from HBO's Girls, and newcomers John Boyega, Daisy Ridley, and Oscar Isaac from Inside Llewyn Davis.
Okay, so we have a cast, but they haven't told us a plot.
Yeah, we don't know a plot, and we need Lando Calrissian back up on the Starfleet. Bring him back, man.
Well, and you think about it, I mean, certainly with the fact that they just now announced the cast and they've got them assembled over there, I would imagine filming has either just started or has not started yet.
It hasn't yet. And from what I understand, this is an initial read-through. This isn't the whole cast. There are still some parts to be cast.
Okay.
Yeah, they know they're definitely looking for at least one more female, and I'm assuming that's an older female, considering that what's her name, Ridley.
Yeah, Daisy Ridley. Yeah,
Daisy Ridley is younger. I'm assuming this will probably be an older female.
Okay, so we're still in the preliminary stages. We may yet get a Lando Calrissian.
It's possible.
I hope so.
Yeah. Okay, so
let us note that many Bothans died to get us this information.
Very nicely
Thank
done,
you,
Jacob.
Mon Mothma.
Oh, if you don't get the reference, you need to go back and watch the original Star Wars.
Oh, boy.
Ryan, from one very, very rumored film to another very rumored film. We've been talking about this on this show many, many times, and the fact that Marvel seems to have done it so well in bringing us the Hulk, Iron Man, Thor, Captain America, and bringing them all in and creating a very successful film in the Avengers, and we've been wondering why DC Comics has not been able to seem to learn from it. Maybe they are. Are we actually going to get a Justice League film?
Yes, moviegoers around the world and across the universe have reason to celebrate because the Justice League is officially happening with Zack Snyder, the director of Man of Steel, is going to be directing the big kahuna, but the question on everyone's mind is, who else are you going to bring into the foray? Number two, who are you going to cast to play those roles? And number three, why didn't you bring in a different director? Because no disrespect to Snyder, he won me over with Man of Steel, but we need some new talent and new blood as directors, man.
Who would you think might be a good choice, though, Ryan?
Oh, there are tons of choices out there. You got Brad Bird. I mean, granted, he's going to be probably tied up with Incredibles too, but he would have been one. Kenneth Branagh would have been a great choice.
I don't see Branagh going from Marvel to DC.
No, if they offer him a good check amount of money, he would.
Well, you may be right about that, but I don't know. I kind of get the funny feeling Branagh kind of, granted, he didn't do Thor 2, but I think him doing Thor, the original Thor, he's kind of got a soft spot for that. Jeff, anything?
I don't know. I see. As long as the script is good, Snyder's going to knock it out of the park because really, he's one of the best action directors working today. He's going to deliver the huge spectacle.
Mm-hmm.
Like I say, he's got a great eye. He's got a great imagination for staging giant scenes, as you can tell by some of the fights in Man of Steel.
Right.
And all the Krypton sequences. So I have faith in him. If the script's good, he'll direct the absolute heck out of it.
Okay. We're going to see Batman vs. Superman first. Have the stars, Ben Affleck most notably portraying Batman, have they signed on for this? Do we know?
I haven't heard of anything, but I would assume that it's pretty much a certainty. That
Well, and I mean, we've already got a Wonder Woman and a Cyborg cast in Batman versus Superman.
Mm-hmm.
So,
and they're still talking about bringing in the TV characters that we know so well. Arrow, I haven't heard much about that, but I'm fairly certain Flash is going to be making an appearance because Flash was a pretty well-known Justice League member. Arrow, not necessarily so much.
You can't really have a Justice League movie without the Flash.
So I would imagine they're going to bring the TV.
Arrow,
I would imagine they're going to bring the TV side into it.
Yeah, that's where I think I'm most interested about this is will they bring them in, and if not, who will play the characters, and how will they kind of reconcile the fact that they've got two people playing the same character at the same time?
Yeah, that would be interesting to know. Do we have an idea of when they want to try and get this into theaters, Ryan?
We're not sure when the release date yet. Some sources say 2017, 2018, 2020, but who cares? The bottom line is here, Jack. We're getting a Justice League film, and let me tell you, This film's going to make more history than any film that we've seen in a billion years. So I cannot wait for this one. And I'm telling you, if they incorporate the original Justice League theme song from the animated series, a lot of fans are going to be happy.
It wouldn't be a bad
thing. I disagree. I think this is going to be a poor man's Avengers, and it's just not going to. It's not going to do nearly as well.
If they try and rush it, I think that we could have a problem. If they try and put this thing out in say 2017, a year after they get Batman versus Superman, that might be a little too much. I could see 2018. Before we go to break, what's the schedule again for Marvel? I know that next year that we have Cap 3 and Age of Ultron, Avengers 2, Age of Ultron. What else do we have next year from Marvel?
I believe Ant-Man.
Okay.
Maybe Doctor Strange. Gosh, I'm not sure.
Okay, so that's 2015. 2016.
Maybe a Thor.
Maybe. See. Okay, 2016 we're slated to get Cap 3. When's Avengers 3 slated?
I'd say 2 years after, just like this time. You have Avengers, then a year with, for other Marvel movies between, and then it's about every 2 years, I would say. That's what they do with those.
2017, probably.
Yeah.
Okay, so 2017. So would it be a smart thing for them to avoid going head-to-head Justice League and Avengers Part 3 and push it back a year to 2018?
I thought about it in the same year. Maybe they don't need to go up head-to-head. I mean, if you do one in the spring and one in the fall, it's probably okay, but...
Yeah, maybe.
Either way, this is going to be one heck of a battle. And, Jacob, you may have no faith in Justice League, but I have all the faith in the world, man. Snyder's going to give us great visuals.
I mean, it's not the Justice League that I don't. I love the Justice League. I don't have faith in any of the DC execs. So,
no, that's because they need to hire people like us. I know what you're talking
there
about.
There you go. We need to take a break. When we come back, we got one more bit of movie news to talk about because apparently there's another horror film based upon found footage coming out. And we'll talk about some TV stuff. And unfortunately, we also have to kind of remember a person who passed away over the past week. We'll do all that when we come back.
Hope you got your popcorn, because we're back to the Entertainment Roundtable on Superstation 101.
Welcome back in. Coming back to the sounds of the CBS hit show NCIS. We'll get to that here in just a moment. Got one more bit of movie news that we do need to talk about. And Ryan, you found a trailer for a film called As Above, So Below. This is a horror film with found footage, and it seems like that's become the big thing nowadays. You've seen the trailer. Does it seem good?
I mean, to me, it seems intriguing enough. It's about two archaeologists in search of a lost treasure down in the catacombs, which is below Paris. They've been down there for many, many centuries, so I'd be down to see it.
When is it supposed to come out?
I don't have the exact date in front of me, but I believe it's late in the summer, if not early part of the fall.
Okay, so gearing up towards traditional horror films coming out, ish Halloween.
Mm-hmm.
Probably. I remember seeing this, and it's obviously you're going to see a whole lot of darkness because they're running around in the catacombs of under Paris. To me, just in watching the trailer, I kind of went, it's almost a little bit too dark for me. And I don't mean that in a horror film, in a horror sense. I mean in just visually and looking at it. It's just a lot of dark. It's almost got that strobe light effect. And I'm sorry, the strobe light effect.
I'm not a big fan of that either.
It goes easier. I'm sorry. A little bit of that goes a long way.
Well, by the way, that's a big trend in action films that I wish would go away. Fights with the strobe light effect.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Ryan, I'm sorry, go ahead.
I was going to say, at least it's not lens flare.
Well, good point.
Yeah, that's true. All right, switching over to TV, and I fell flat on my face on this one, and I did not talk about or look up what comes out on DVD or Blu-ray this week, so sorry. Not much going on in the world of television. Ryan on the Fox network. Carl Urban came to TV earlier this year. You were talking about lens flare. He well known for playing Bones in the rebooted Star Trek, but it was very highly touted. The show Almost Human, and I've watched a few episodes, and it was okay, but it kind of lost me. Fox was taking their time letting us know about the future of the show. That's usually not a good sign. What are they saying about the future of Almost Human?
Well, they've unfortunately decided to cancel Almost Human after only one season, so bye-bye Birdie.
Expensive or low ratings or a combination? Why? Have they said?
It hasn't really been said, but one of the rumors going around was that because of the low ratings. Yeah, I mean Monday nights are a war zone, man.
Monday nights are a war zone. Yeah.
They say low ratings, but there again, I mean the season finale was on par with the following, so which Fox loves.
Which would tell me that it also has a lot to do with the amount of money it costs to produce the show.
Yeah.
Because you think about the amount of expense that an ABC and Marvel are doing with an Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., that is not a cheap TV show to produce, but if it's got the ratings, they'll keep it around. If it's got middling ratings, then they will axe it because it'll help save them money.
Yeah.
So that's where I get the funny feeling this goes. And let's talk about the CBS network. The top-rated scripted show on TV is NCIS. And we talked about this earlier this year in that Ralph Waite, of course, we know him so well as Grandpa or one of the dad on the Waltons, and he's since been a character actor on several things. He appeared in Bones for a little while, and in, I think it was 2008, 2009, he was introduced as the father of Leroy Jethro Gibbs, the main character on NCIS. Well, he passed away earlier this year. They haven't really dealt with it. They put up a little thing at the end after the credits, Ralph Waite, year he was born, year he died, but they haven't addressed it otherwise. Now getting word that they plan on doing that.
Yes, sir. As fans of the show know, every season for the first 10 have ended with some bit of cliffhanger elements to them, but according to showrunner Gary Glasberg, that's not going to be the case this year. They're going to wrap things up, and to quote him, he says, it's going out on an emotional note instead of a suspenseful one. Basically, he says, season 11 has been anything but traditional, and what appealed to me was the idea of closing it properly on solid ground and not feeling like we were dangling carrots and playing games anyway in order to honor Mr. Waits. Now, according to the story here, apparently it's going to center around Gibbs learning of his father's death and feeling torn between staying on a case that's going on or going home for the funeral. So that's sort of the plans for CBS to honor the late actor in the season finale. So for the first time in its 11-year run, this season will close up all nice and neat with a nice little tribute to the late actor.
That'll be nice for me because, again, I'm a fan of the show, and you just get one of those things. And I did this every single year that 24 was around. And it wrapped up on a cliffhanger, and I was like, oh, my gosh, I got to wait until January for it to come back.
Yeah, they said they're going to have some brief footages of Mr. Waite from previous episodes, but they also have some newly shot flashbacks showing them as a younger father and son. So.
Nice. Very nice. I'm looking forward to that. And I still have his last full appearance on the show, which aired last fall. It's an episode called Bitter Angels, and it's a fantastic one. And it's, I don't know. I just like it. That said, with Ralph Waite passing away, we also found out from Hollywood over this past week, that actor Bob Hoskins, likely best known for playing the private detective Eddie Valiant on the animation live-action movie Who Framed Roger Rabbit, passed away due to complications from pneumonia. Hoskins began his career in 1969 in England's Unity Theatre and then got a part while waiting for a friend to read for the part that he ultimately got.
That's great.
Hoskins goes along for the ride. His buddy's going to try out for a part. He sits at the bar drinking. Somebody slaps the script in front of him and says, "You're next." Hoskins gets the part, and his friend is left as the understudy.
That's how Hollywood works.
There you go. Moved on to British television in 1976, graduating into films in 1980. He appeared in the British productions of The Long Good Friday. He also had a bit part as the band's agent in the movie Pink Floyd's The Wall. If you've never seen that film, it is just so weird.
I haven't.
It's weird. That came out in 1982. He would then go on to appear in the 1986 film Mona Lisa. It was that role that garnered him several award nominations. He was given also a Golden Globe and a BAFTA, which is the British equivalent of an Oscar. He was also nominated for the Academy Award. He didn't win that. From there, Hoskins went on to one of his biggest roles, mentioned Who Framed Roger Rabbit, netted him a second Golden Globe nomination. He went from there, played in Mermaids. He played in Hook.
Shmee.
Yep, that's Mr. Smee.
Yep. He later, by the way, reprised that role. He played Smee from that movie in the TV show Neverland in 2011.
Yep.
Only one episode that I can tell.
Interesting.
He also appeared in One Big Misstep, according to himself. Anybody know it?
Super Mario Brothers?
Bingo.
Yeah.
1993, Super Mario Brothers. Bob Hoskins played Mario. Movie he said he did not know was about the Nintendo video game until he talked to his son, who informed him where the basis of the film came from. In 2007, Hoskins sat down for an interview with the British newspaper The Guardian. He said it was the biggest regret of his career. He called the movie, quote, the worst thing I ever did, unquote.
Wow.
I think that's probably a feeling of anyone who worked on that film at all.
I saw the film and immediately said, I can't believe I watched that.
Yeah.
It's a
Until the
guilty
end.
pleasure to me.
Yeah.
I mean,
wow.
even as a child, I said the same. I was like, man, this is terrible.
It was bad. In 2012, Hoskins announced he was retiring from acting because he had recently been diagnosed with Parkinson's disease. Bob Hoskins passing away earlier this week at the age of 71.
What, no Brazil in there? They didn't mention Brazil? What about the...
I didn't mention Brazil.
What about Unleashed?
Well, he was in a lot of stuff.
Jet Li. Come on, man.
Yeah, I saw Unleashed with Jet Li, yeah.
Yeah. Get him.
Well, and Bob Hoskins, and here's the thing, unless you know Bob Hoskins from Who Framed Roger Rabbit, which keep in mind, it was a 1988, 89 film, unless you can visually come up with Bob Hoskins in your head, you probably have seen Bob Hoskins in any number of things and didn't really realize it.
Okay, that's fine. Hey, slow your roll, Steve.
No, I'm just saying he was actually quite prolific. I mean, he appeared in a whole lot of movies and a good number of TV shows over his time.
Yeah, his IMDb page is as long as my arm. As far as stuff.
I mean, he did an impressive line of work. I just kind of hit on some of the highlights there. But yeah, he'll be kind of missed.
A little bit.
Eddie Valiant, man, we love you.
Come to find out, though,
voice,
to find out, he was actually an ardent atheist and a communist.
Well, okay then.
Kind of weird what you read up and find out about things, huh?
I suppose so.
All right. Jeff, you're still not on the board.
I know, right?
Updated rankings here, and we finally have Ryan on the board, so congratulations. You've made it.
Woohoo!
Transcendence in there, $19 million. Josh in there, his one film doing quite well, $97.7 million. And Jacob, when was this as of what, last night?
As of this morning.
As of this morning, $97.7 million for Rio 2. That's the one that he's got. $19.5 million for Transcendence for Ryan. And 3 of my 5 movies have already been released.
Yeah, that's a shame.
Yeah, really. $281.37 million is what I've racked up. $227.4 million of that is Captain America. Draft day, looking like it's going to be a dud. I was thinking, and granted, it was a low-round draft pick. I mean, this was late. I think this was my second to last or last pick of our summer movie league draft. But I was thinking Kevin Costner back in the area that most people know him in. You think Bull Durham, you think Field of Dreams, Tin Cup, For the Love of the Game. Going back into draft day, I was thinking $50 million.
Yeah, I mean, it could go either way with Costner back in a sports film.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Read the top 10. It wasn't even in the top 10, and it sits at $24.6 million.
Heartbreaker.
Yeah.
This thing's going to be a dud.
I've got a feeling that's going to be the one.
This is going to be my anchor right here.
The Fault in Our Stars. I think that may be it for me.
You think so?
Yeah.
We'll see. Sort of a
yeah, Steve. But I mean, if Captain America hits 250, it's going to be hard to catch up to you.
Well, we'll see about that because we still got a good number of stuff here, and then you got $29.2 million for The Other Woman in there, so that's what I've got. The only other 2 films that I got to wait until July to come out. It's Dawn of the Planet of the Apes, and then if Draft Day is not my anchor, the potential anchor there would be The Purge: Anarchy.
Yeah, I think that one's going to be an anchor.
Let's see here. Yeah, David liking this week because Amazing Spider-Man 2. That's going to be the number 1 film of the weekend.
Oh, guaranteed
yeah,
over $100 million.
You think $100 million for this weekend?
Maybe even more than that. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, they're projecting big stuff.
Okay. Question is how much staying power does it have?
It has some until a little thing called X-Men arrives.
Yep, that's coming out here a little bit later on. I was looking ahead here, Jeff. We got to wait until the end. We got to wait until the beginning of the month for you. Jacob, your first film doesn't come up until Maleficent at the end of this month.
Right.
But I've been hearing good stuff on that, so it'll be real
good.
interesting to see how we go here. But Josh is looking pretty good. Again, Rio 2 at $97.7 million right now, and he's got X-Men Days of Future Past coming up. Ryan, you got Godzilla coming up here in a couple of weeks.
Yeah, and that's already getting positive buzz as well everywhere, like overseas in the U.S. markets. It's getting good buzz, man.
We saw the preview to it.
I've seen the preview in the theater too, and folks didn't really react that great to it. I'm pumped, but the people around me were like, "Oh, really?"
I'm looking forward to
Godzilla?
seeing it, but I mentioned this the other night when I was talking to our friends down at Amstar Theater, and I kind of looked at them and I went, did we really need another Godzilla? I mean, granted, the one with Matthew Broderick kind of left a bad taste in all of our mouths, but did we need another one?
We need this one.
We need this one?
Yeah.
Jeff says we need this. Jacob, you agree?
mean, I'm very interested. I just don't think the trailers are selling it well enough. It doesn't look. The trailers do not look good enough to me. I think it's going to be a good movie. I don't think the trailers are doing it justice.
Ryan, what do you think about it?
Yeah, I think it looks great. We need more kaiju, man.
All right. Ryan, we can find you online where, my friend?
At Ryan Matthews or at the RPM Show, all on Facebook.
All right. Look forward to hearing your review of The Amazing Spider-Man 2 next week, my friend.
Yep, looking forward to doing some web slinging this weekend, gentlemen.
I appreciate it. Thank you very much, Ryan and Jacob. Thank you very much for joining us and keeping with us the entire show. And we will talk to you again, hopefully, next week.
Hopefully so.
All right. Thank you very much, Jacob. Jeff, enjoy the rest of your weekend, my friend.
You too, buddy.
We'll talk to you soon. Thank you for listening to the Entertainment Roundtable right here on Superstation 101 WYDE.